This meeting of the City of Kingston Zoning Board of Appeals will now come to order. It is 6:05 p.m. My name is Tony Arkelevich, and I will be chairing this proceeding. I will take a moment to explain how the Zoning Board of Appeals functions. The board is comprised of 5 members and 2 alternates. We have been appointed to serve the citizens of the City of Kingston. We perform this service to the best of our abilities on a voluntary, unpaid basis. The other board members are, please introduce yourselves. Ari.
Goldstein, alternate.
Mary Newbauer.
John Bonavita Goldman.
Brian, you want to introduce yourself, Brian?
Yes, Brian Cafferty.
Owen Harvey, alternate.
Okay.
Mike's.
Oh, we can do the microphone.
They were off.
They were off.
Okay. All right, so we have Brian, John, Mary, myself 4. We need to have a voting member. I believe it's Ari's time to turn the vote. Okay, so you'll be voting. So we've got Brian, John, Mary. Okay, there will be a period for public comment this evening after each variance request has been presented. This period is an opportunity for individuals to make a statement of opinion, not to engage in debate. Each speaker must state their name and address for the record. Speakers must be brief and to the point to allow everyone a chance to speak. Speakers must address the board as a whole, not individual members, and not other speakers or audience members. Professional demeanor is expected. Okay, everyone received all board members received the October 10th, 2019 minutes. I want to make some corrections to them. On page 2, where it says Tony, it says what kind of triangle and how far in do we want to go, and the verbiage on the minutes is, I hope a perpendicular triangle, I don't know what a perpendicular triangle is, will be allowed. The correct should be, my statement was, I hope a perpendicular corner will not be allowed. I will give these changes to Eric. Down below, Tony, I disagree. When looking to the right, you have greater visibility, which you don't have making a left. It isn't making a left. It's looking left. So it should read, I disagree. When looking to the right, you have greater visibility, which you don't have looking left. I respect the fact you want to be consistent. So the change is looking left. And then with Steve, I checked with Steve, his comment on when John says, what's the difference from across the street fence? The way it's written is because you're trying to make a left-hand turn, not a right-hand turn. If you make a left-hand turn on a red light, you're going to get a ticket. So it should read, because you're trying to look left to make a right-hand turn. I'll give these changes to Eric. So with that being said, do I have a motion to approve the amended October 10, 2019 minutes?
Motion.
John? Second? Ari? All in favor? Aye? Opposed? Nay? No nays, so that's passed. Again, one. John? Ari seconded. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0 approved. Okay. On the agenda. First order on the agenda is Michael Moriello, attorney for 127 Greenkill Avenue, LLC. 127 Greenkill Avenue, Zone R2, Ward 4, tax parcel 56.109-2-32. The applicant is seeking a use variance from Chapter 405-12 for a community center. Community center is not listed as a use by right in the R2 zone, and hence we have a use variance request, an application, and also a site map. And Mr. Moriello, would you come up, please? Mr. Zell, you can join him. Would be in the definition in the beginning of the book. I could check in the book. You have the book here. You want to check in the beginning. Yep.
What's the address, 187?
127, Greenkill. Okay, good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to the
Could
board.
you please state both your names?
I'm
and,
Michael
address?
Moriello. I'm the attorney for the applicants, 127 Greenkill LLC.
And I'm Chris Zell from Bernier and Larios, and I prepared the site plan.
Okay, thank you. Now, we have a cover letter dated November 20th, 2019, signed by Mr. Moriello. Just one, I try not to correct attorneys on the whole, but I believe you meant in paragraph 3 from the bottom, it's within the R2 zoning district, not the C2 zoning district?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
And I don't mind being corrected, that's okay.
I try not to. So, the letter indicates my client is the new owner of the former Du Bois residence situated at 127 Greenkill Avenue, Kingston, New York. And the use variance application being pursued is so that my client may provide for a philanthropic, well, that was tough for me to say, community center within the city of Kingston. Okay, well, you have the application. We have a signature, authorized signature from the owner stipulating that the owner's knowledge and approval to make the application for use on his or her property is okay?
Yeah,
Is that,
Yeah.
I think it was Metzger?
that's correct.
It's Cassandra Metzger. Okay. We have, as I said in my introduction, the use by right for community center is not allowed. Maybe you could elaborate, Mr. Moriello, a little bit about what this community center will be. I had an opportunity to drive by today. It's a nice brick house, a big yard. It's right next to the Boys and Girls Club.
Correct.
And is this community center going to be tied into the Boys and Girls Club, or is it going
Well-
to be separate, or?
Well, let me just explain too, Mr. Chairman. Chris and I thought that our clients were going to be here tonight because we wanted them to explain what their vision for the community center was, but they're not here. I don't know what happened to them. But at any rate, from my understanding of it, 127 Greenkill Avenue LLC is a philanthropic arm of a larger organization that wants to do a community center, if you will, right next door to, as you said, the Boys and Girls Club. Across the street, this would be permitted. The zoning across the street permits the use, but looking at the application and looking at the zoning petition itself, we thought that, especially since this is a philanthropic use, the use variance would probably fit better going forward. I have not done the balancing analysis that's required under the use variance criteria yet. As the board knows,
You read my mind.
yeah, as the board knows, the Kingstonian, I did submit one in for that, but I haven't done one for the use variance for this project yet. And part of that is because I don't have a complete understanding of what they're doing either. But I will say this, there's no, and Chris can elaborate on this, there's no site plan per se associated with the project. They intend on fixing up the house and operating out of the house. They're not going to add on to it. They're not going to make any additions to it. They're going to have to provide room for parking naturally, and that, in the end, may trigger site plan. I don't believe that, I think that they have enough parking now, but Chris can also walk you through the layout of the property. Their intention is to only really make interior repairs to the building and cosmetic enhancements outside the building. Chris, I don't know if you want to...
Yeah, it's my understanding that the building will remain the way it is now. Cosmetically, they will repair things that need to be repaired, but there are no additions, no demolition, nothing to the outside of the building and inside, just restoring the inside of the building. So its outward appearance will be the same as it is now, with the possible exception of maybe some additional parking, but otherwise it'll just be a renovation of the existing building as it is.
I just want to see if anybody else has any questions, but you're correct. Does the board have any questions? Really, we don't have, as you know, we don't have a complete application. We don't have the criteria for a use variance filled in and for the application, which would be necessary. Of course, the biggest criteria on a use variance is financial hardship, lack of a reasonable return, because this is R2, single family dwelling can be, or two-family, so you're going to have to show why that could not be utilized as such with a reasonable return. I mean, it sounds like it's a very good concept, a nice concept for a community center right next to the Boys and Girls Club, but that does not eliminate the process we have to go through. I'm sure you understand that we have to go through to meet the criteria for use variances. You've been before us enough times that you know what we have to consider. So, I mean, at this point, does anyone else have any questions at all about this? Go ahead.
I'm just going to say what I said to you, and that is, I just think that, Chris, Mike, we don't have the applicant here. We don't have a complete application.
Right.
I just think that the best thing to do at this point is just table it and then reconvene everybody here next month so that we can hear the whole thing all at one time.
I agree 100%.
I second that.
Yes.
It does.
Okay.
Yes.
I agree also.
But we have some questions
I have another question for you, Tony.
for me. Okay.
My question is how do you figure a reasonable return when it's, how do you figure reasonable return when it's a philanthropic institution?
Well, the reasonable return, it has to be shown that there can,
Based on the current
that,
zone.
based on the current uses by right, why that building cannot be used for those uses by right. Why does it have to be used as a community center? This is a little more complex than a usual use variance, because this is, I'm assuming, going to be a not-for-profit community center, so there's really no monies that are being gained, but we need to still, to the extent that we can, meet our legal obligation for criteria of a use variance, which is a reasonable return, financial hardship, on why can't this continue to be. I'm assuming it was a single family or
That's correct.
minimal, or maybe a two-family, because it's allowable. So there still has to be some effort made to show, I would guess, if not financial, and I'm not giving away any secrets, if not financial, why the area would benefit more and the owner would benefit more by operating it as a community center rather than a single or a family residence or a double or
So my
two-family.
My only question with that is
It's
that-
not as cut and dry as our usual use
Right.
variances.
And the assumption there is that they're forced not, because of problems with the finances, it's almost, they're forced to make it a community center, which doesn't make any sense.
No, they desire to make it a community.
Correct.
They desire to make it a community center, and that's where it becomes a little more unusual. So,
Yeah, we're going to have to, certainly, I agree, board members, we're going to have to massage that part of the analysis, because really, the lack of reasonable return is self-imposed. So we're going to have to,
That's-
you know,
yeah, that
that's
was
going to
my-
have to be,
self-created.
yeah, addressed.
Which is one of the criteria, is this self-created, but
This is self-created, turned around, almost.
Exactly.
Well-
It should be a benefit to the community, and
this is kind of like a different spin, because
It's reversed.
the reasonable return, they don't want a reasonable return.
That's correct.
They
Yeah,
want to
it's the-
operate a
not
not-for-profit,
for profit.
which is very altruistic, so that's what we're going, we will leave that up to your minds, how you're going to present that to us, okay?
We
Do
will.
you know whether there are any comparable instances in New York State?
I don't know. I've never had one quite like this, and I've done, as the board probably knows, I've done a lot of use variances over the years. I've never had one where it's, like you said, almost the opposite of the analysis.
One consideration will be, I travel that street when I go visit somebody down in Wilbur Avenue in the assisted living, and that house has been on the market for quite a period of time, hasn't it? So, I mean, that's a consideration, that it hasn't sold, it isn't selling, it's in need of repair, obviously, or there's other reasons why it hasn't sold.
It did get sold.
Yeah, but all
To
right.
somebody else,
Yeah.
it hasn't been sold. It's been sold to your client,
yeah.
who has a community center in mind to do it. So I don't know if that enters into the argument or not, but just a general comment that,
Yes, we'll definitely look into all the criteria, so.
all right, any other questions?
What was the name of the organization?
127 Greenkill Avenue LLC.
Right, and what was the name of is it the Boys and Girls Club that is, what's
No,
the
it's not,
entity that's?
it's not affiliated with the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
And as far as the parent organization, I'm not sure. And that's
Oh.
why I kind of wanted them here
Okay.
tonight to let you know.
We kind of
But
need that.
We'll have that information at the next meeting. The outfit that owns the property is 127 Greenkill Ave LLC. That's a philanthropic arm of a parent organization, so.
Okay, well, this is to be continued. It should be very interesting the next time we meet, but we make our decisions at the end of the meeting, and all likelihood, this will be tabled until the next meeting. You don't
May-
have to stick around for it, although I think you're on the next
Yes.
item.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Tony,
have to stick around.
Tony,
Chris doesn't.
may I just ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead.
I apologize. The only thing I wanted to ask was, the owner, and you may not be able to answer this question, but are they aware that because you buy a property, you don't necessarily inherit the rights or the uses of the adjacent properties?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
they're
you.
aware of that, yes.
I don't know, I'm not following that question. That's a new one for me.
Just that because it's next to a community center like the Boys and Girls Club, doesn't mean that they then can inherit those rights as well.
That's why they're here.
Exactly.
They know they can't
No,
inherit, they have
I
to
just wanted to
apply.
make sure when they purchased that they understood that.
That's why they're here, Roland.
Correct.
Okay. All right, let's move on, please.